Welcome to my podcast, Seven. Seven's all about sharing career stories that in turn inspire others, and specifically within the life sciences sector. I'm so excited to have Christian with us today. And I'm going to pass it to Christian in a moment. But before doing so, I'll just give a brief introduction about myself. I'm the founder of Protoscience. It's a career coaching startup business, and it's all about helping people get from where they are to the next stage of their career destination. It's creating that pathway, that journey for them to get there. So I am thrilled with the story we're about to hear. So Christian, over to you. I would love for you to give a bit of a synopsis, about your story, your career to date, what led you to where you are now. Over to you.
Right. Well, first of all, thank you very much, Joe, especially on your birthday. Happy birthday again. I can't believe you won't spend your evening with me on the podcast, but hey, here we are.
Couldn't think of anything better.
Thank you. You're so charming. So, career path. Well, when I grew up, or actually 1964, that's really that long ago. So the world for me was still divided. There was the eastern and the western part of Germany, and I literally lived 10 miles away from the fence. So it was a dead end street, more or less. I lived on the western side, so thank God for that. But so that's where I grew up there, and I did my schooling and all that stuff. I was always interested in biology. I found this amazing, these little cells, these machines, the stuff they achieve. Nobody can build that machine. All right, so here goes little Christian, goes to the job centers and like, hey, I want to study biology. and he goes like, well, you're going to be unemployed. And I go like, oh God, here we go. That's not what I want. You can imagine exactly, complete downer, but you can imagine that place where I grew up there. I was probably not the smartest consultant sitting in the job center. So I went back saying, okay, back to square one. So what do I do next? And I was pretty fascinated at the time about movies, all this science fiction stuff came out. They had this wonderful mask and stuff and things. So I was like, okay, I'm going to become a makeup artist. Yeah. But probably most to the shock of my parents who brought me through high school for me to go for something like that. So, but hey, I had my master plan there. And the thing is, you have to become a hairdresser for that first. So an apprenticeship for a hairdresser, then you do another apprenticeship to become a makeup artist at a theater or whatever. And obviously I wanted to go to Hollywood. I didn't want to go like end up in a second class theater somewhere remote and put red cheeks on the chorus or whatever. So I want to do the big stuff. Okay, so here we go. Christian becomes a hairdresser, and I'm a full hairdresser to the day. So I'm still cutting my wife's hair. So and during the pandemic, when all the hairdressers had to shut down, I was pretty much on demand. So,
Fantastic.
it was really good. So, but long story short, it wasn't made for me. I really missed the intelligent challenges and all that stuff. It was great. I learned a lot. I mean, it was pretty good schooling for my life.
Wow.
And as well made me survive nicely because during my studies then for biology, which I finally ended up ignoring that consultant,
Good. Thank
thankfully.
God for that.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. Good idea, Christian. So I finally then ended up in, being on my bicycle every night, having my hairdresser set in my little backpack and went around and my co-students got a relatively cheap haircut and I got a dinner and a glass of red wine. So was a good deal.
That's a
So
fantastic deal.
yeah, yeah. But then in Germany, when you have to study biology, you have to do a year of practice at the end, and that year of practice in the lab, literally by batting with radio. Stuff and all that. It was like, yeah, it was amazing, but it wasn't made for me. And during that time, I had to bring a little bit more money in to make months end, and I worked as a waiter in the evening. And that was pretty relaxing after a day in a lab, I can tell you that. So I felt like, okay, days over, go waitering, that's going to relax you. And it's sort of like made click for me that I'm a people person. I need to work with people. I'm not made
Mm-hmm.
for the lab and work in isolation and all that. So I like to work with people. And thankfully, I had that click. I mean, a lot of people don't have that calling, that finding their profession, finding their slot. So fast forward, I spent 5 years in the diagnostic company, in sales and marketing, 2.5 years in a dialysis company, and since, well, more than 20 years, that gives away my age, in the CRO industry, in
Wow.
multiple CROs. And yeah, if that's a great community to work in right now. And it has been a business which has been constantly growing ever since. So that's the short version of my CV.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And to show the stepping stone, the starting point of you had identified your passion. And then, even though you were told to go a certain direction and you tried out a couple of things, and in fact, those very things came in useful, especially last year, the makeup artistry, the hair cutting, and then it's still coming back to science and then figuring out what it was particularly that was fulfilling for you. And then here you
Yeah.
are working at PSI in an area, in a vocation where you're successful. You have a team, from what you have described to me previously, that are quite happy and quite successful. So I wanted to know, you've told us your career journey up until now. So what were the defining moments so far?
Right. I mean, one was literally that moment when it made click for me that I like to work with people. The other one is, I was pretty green in my first years. I mean, when you look back to your career and think like, Jesus Christ, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have had that rather red jacket on and whatsoever and stuff like that. So it was something like a bit embarrassing. But one of the defining moments for me was, and I remember to the day I spent a holiday in Italy, literally sitting there. My boss called me and was like, Christian, we have to talk. I won't steal too much of your time. So just 5 minutes. And then she ruined my holiday because they're like, I'm going to move on. Somebody needs to lead the European sales team at Parexel. I was working for Parexel at the time. Big company, big CRO, one of the big global players there. And so somebody needs to take my job. Are you in? And I was like, okay, let me think about that because I had a pretty successful life as an individual contributor.
Yeah.
I had good success in becoming number one in Europe, number one on the world in the sales team. So, so I thought, well, that's pretty cool. Well, then, but I finally then had a good thinking about that. Oh, there was some red wine involved in the evening. So, but I decided to jump on it. And God, I hated myself for the next 6 months, really, because what I hadn't realized so far, I had a pretty easy life. I went out, yes, I had my problems to solve, but if things got too big, I escalated at one level up. They're like, can you help me solve that problem? Now, guess what? Who got that problem escalated to right now? Exactly.
Down to
So
you.
total different life there. So the first 6 months were really hard, make that change, but
Mm.
it is great ever since. Honestly, I love what I'm doing. I love the line management aspect of it. And yeah, that was definitely one of the defining moments.
Wow, that's amazing. What you've described is, facing uncertainty and still going for it, and that's what they say successful people do. The more you can face uncertainty, the more successful you become in your life, because it does feel uncomfortable. It does put you outside of your comfort zone and you step forward. And what it did was it led to the next phase of growth for you and being a leader in an
Yeah.
area that you really love and enjoy. Fantastic. All right, so let's now move on to the greatest achievement. What do you consider that to be in your life, personal or professional?
Yeah. I mean, frankly, I'm pretty proud generally of what I've achieved because I mean, my background isn't that rich. So it's kind of like I come
Well,
from a relatively modest family. So I'm pretty proud about like the house I'm sitting in right now. This is all basically done by my own work. And always my wife's work also. So don't forget her. So, but the one thing I'm really proud about is I like to form things, I like to create teams, build teams, set people up so that they can progress in their career. And again, looking back on, well, Parexel is a kind of good example there. One of my team members became the head of sales for the technology part, where all these computer software stuff which they sell there needed a special sales team. So he was progressing there. Another one took my job when I moved on into a marketing role a few years later. So I think it's building those people to become a stronger part of the team is great. I see this right now as well as PSI. When I started here, there was just one person there who's been hired eternities back. But right now I got a stable team of 6 and soon to become 7. So that's quite amazing, I think. And that's something which makes me proud if things work out and then people like to work together and build a really nice team.
I think that's wonderful to see other people set up for success. It's pretty much how you just summarize that. And that's how you get fulfillment. You know, you reach a certain stage where you want others to also feel that success with you. And but they're a very lucky team to have a leader like you, that's for sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, well, what's actually happened in your life that shaped who you are, do you feel, whether it's been ups or downs?
Yeah. I mean, for some reason, I mean, I was born a happy chappy, frankly. I was probably one of those puppies who had their tongue hanging out and just smiling at the world there. So I'm a hopeless optimist by nature. So my glass always half full. So I'm leading from what I consider a happy life. So I'm pretty happy. But I had some moments where in my life where I was reminded that it's good to stay humble. You know, nobody should perceive themselves as God's latest gift to this world, because we all can be replaced as hard as it is. I mean, if I wouldn't be there, somebody else would lead the team. So I had one moment where I was really pretty hard, in a hard way, reminded that life could be over very quickly. I was stationed in Singapore for 6 months, which was fantastic. I love it there. So, but one day my gut decided it's a great idea to twist. So I ended up in an emergency room, and they had to cut me up on the same day to basically save my life. And so ever since, it's yeah. I'm
Wow.
reminded that this could be over pretty quickly. So therefore,
Wow.
it's good to stay humble and stay focused and enjoy life as well. You know, you should have some fun in what you do. If you don't, if you have to beat yourself up, you go every day from 9 to 5 in a job, you're probably not having the right profession. I'm pretty convinced that life gets easier if you like what you're doing.
That's so true.
So try to find out what you're good at, what you really like, and go after it.
Oh my gosh, I totally agree with you 110%. And to have had such a profound experience that had led to, well, you know, what's important in your life, you know, getting that clarity and knowing that, you know, the vocation, what you choose to do, it should be something that does bring you happiness and fulfillment, you know, as opposed to pain and suffering. I see a lot of people as a career coach that, you know, they come to me and they are in that little pickle of a situation where they're not happy where they are, you know, not being able to jump
Yeah.
out of bed and be happy with where they're going for work, you know, be it virtually now. So to have a 9 to 5, as you put it, that you really just enjoy so much, it brings so much more fulfillment and happiness and success for all those around you as well. And wow, thank you for sharing that. What a crazy journey that you've had. And now I understand even more the humility that you have. You know, you've had that experience and it's shaped you differently, and it's made you really reflect on what's important, and you're imparting that on your team members as well. So wow, really inspiring.
Yeah, life is
Okay,
full of surprises. Yeah,
it is.
that's true. Yeah.
It definitely is, and it does shape who you become. It really does.
Yep.
So speaking of inspiration, what inspired you to take on the role that you have with PSI?
Okay. Yeah. I have to say, I'm not sure whether PSI found me or I found PSI. It's
Bit
just
of
like
both.
things coincided for both of us more or less there. I came out of like, well, spent a lot of years at the big zeros there, and always traded favors internally to make things happen, especially for my smaller clients there. And I think as a business developer person, you should be pretty careful about your reputation out in the market, because you're not only selling the service or the product which you're selling, but you're selling as well yourself. And then honestly, I didn't want to have it pinned on me like, oh yeah, that Christian Buhlmann guy tells you just something and then something different happens in the end there. Because it's especially in the CRO business, it's a pretty small community. So everybody knows everybody more or less. You run into the same people at conferences and so on, which is nice, you know, because it makes even for friendship. So some of my colleagues became friends, so clients became friends, you know. But I was always sort of like looking for a company who matches my work ethos. Honestly, I don't mind getting my hands dirty when I fly into Asia and have a conference booth there. I get on my oldest T-shirt and my sweatpants and basically build up the booth. So
Yeah.
doesn't hurt my soul. So
Yes.
I think
Yes.
that's and that mentality I've never found in these big guys there. They have a reason for being there, especially serving the big pharmaceutical industry who kick out like hundreds of trials every year. So it's a cookie cutter machinery, and they have the scale up function for that. But BSI in that far is different. First of all, they focus on a few indications only, and the biggest driver is really delivery and service. They're pretty humble from where they come. I mean, if you look at our mission statement on the web, there's totally different from any mission statements I've seen. I mean, for example, there's in there like, we know we're only as good as our last delivery, so we can't rest on our laurels. So it's kind of like, no matter how long we work with that particular
Yes.
clients, we always have to bring the delivery in there. So
Mm.
stuff like that, and so it attracted me. I found it pretty fantastic at the beginning. Fast forward 4 years later, have no regrets. It's one of the best decisions I've ever made. It's a
Amazing.
different life. It's all that pressure from like, what have you sold today, and can you just scratch a few numbers together? It's quarter's end and stuff. Doesn't happen because we're privately owned, totally privately owned. Those 4 people who founded us are still there. They lead an operational life. They're still engaged. They want to do that work. So that's pretty good.
Wow, so it's a business from what you've described. They really, do business through values. They have the values mindset,
Yeah.
adding that value to your clients who in turn, touch on the patients, and, the delivery aspect is obviously poignant. And I really appreciate what you're saying about you're only as good as the last service that you've provided. And having been in the recruitment sector is quite similar, actually,
Yep.
in that sense. And it's almost like the chase of always wanting to add value, and you've done that for a particular client, and you're doing that with another client, and you're going back and you have that ongoing relationship as well. So I'm guessing people that have come to you, you've earned that trust because you've had that delivery mindset in a quality way, so they keep coming back for more, so to speak.
Yeah, and there's a lot of passion in there. It's a little bit like compare a business hotel to a boutique hotel. Maybe not be that big, but there's this personal touch in there, and then that focus on what you get as a client and all that stuff. So yeah, that resonates with me.
And from my understanding, you deal with many geographies. Uh, so tell me which ones they are.
Yeah, well, I've got Europe and Asia Pac under my wings there.
Yeah.
I have to say, I've got a bit of a personal passion for Asia Pac. So ever since I've lived in Singapore for 6 months, and from there traveled the world, Japan, Taiwan, Korea, and China. So I'm sort of like falling in love with them, not
Yeah.
because like they have the wonderful beaches and stuff like that. It's like, I like the mentality, I like the people there. They're very hardworking people.
Yes.
And they have a lot of discipline as well in the days. So yeah, it just resonates with me, and I like the food as well. I'm a bit of a
Yes.
foodie, so
Yes. That's
that is
amazing.
a plus on top, I have to say. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's quite nice, yeah. So I'm actually looking forward. Actually, on the 1st of March, I've got a Chinese business development director starting. So that's a
Excellent.
change in my life, because I'm normally flying 6, 7 days, so even more into Asia for sessions, for road trips and conferences, and so
Wow.
I spend a lot of time there. But it's not a burden. It's actually quite nice, I have to say.
So eventually, hopefully, we'll be able to travel at some stage. But for now, you'll have people on the ground who'll be able to, support the business and to grow themselves and to be part of a fantastic team. And you can live vicariously through them by connecting with them virtually and seeing what they eat and seeing the
Yes.
surroundings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's wonderful. So reflecting on, the story that you've given, and you've given the essence of who you are as a person, and the defining moments, and those moments that like that they were gut-wrenching. Your life took a turn. It changed just in that moment. So what sacrifices have you made along your journey, do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't really call them sacrifices. It's just
Okay.
something which comes along there,
Yeah.
and then which I didn't find too hard. But I'm routinely spend at least one day of my weekend here in my office, so to catch up on business, to prepare for the next week. There,
Yes.
nothing in life falls into your lap. I mean, there's quite often hard work involved, unless you have inherited a fortune. You have to step it up a little bit. So That's that's not really a sacrifice. It just comes with the job, frankly. If you're at a certain level there, you have to bring in the hours there. There's no doubt about it. I always tell to my people when I hire, saying like, if you manage to get your job in a legal way, sitting next to the pool, sipping a cool drink, be my guest. But I've never found one, frankly. Everybody who has been successful in my team has been working pretty hard on that. So that comes along with that. The other piece, I've moved around in Germany and for so often always followed my job. So I don't have that close, those friends, you know, where I say like I've grown up with them, I've been in kindergarten with them, and went to preliminary school and whatever. So my friends are now scattered all over the world.
Yes, exactly.
Testament to that, speaking to you today.
Yes.
So that makes simply you need to put a little bit more energy in that to keep those friendships going there.
This is true.
I found a few local ones here as well where I live right now, but yeah, that's if you follow the job and make that so like your priority, comes along with it.
Yeah, I relate to everything that you've said in terms of, you know, working and just putting in the effort and the hours, and it sounds as though you're doing it because you're passionate about it. You're happy to do it. It's going to put things further forward for you, the business, and then who it in turn impacts along the way. And, you know, in terms of those connections that you referred to, it's funny that, you know, it takes a pandemic to actually bring people together virtually, and just to know that connection can still happen. And it can still be done in a quality way, and we just make it work. And of course, you know, there is nothing better than having an in-person dinner, get together, or coffee or a drink. And, you know, soon enough, we'll be able to do that eventually.
Absolutely.
So,
Looking forward to that. But I have to say,
yes.
I had a little bit more anxieties like, will this really work? I mean, we adapted Zoom and all these virtual meetings very, very quickly. That
Yes.
was a good thing. So we all got used to it. I mean, we do a lot of calls internally with video on. I mean, I know there's this, yeah, a little bit, people are a little bit tired of that Zoom thingy or video thingy, that fatigue, but it helps still. You know, you see the reaction of the other person on the other side. And if you do this often enough, it becomes natural. I mean,
Yes.
I don't have to think twice right now what to do in front of a camera. At the beginning, it was hard, but it worked out pretty nice after, say, 2020. And I hope some of that is here to stay, because it allows us to connect much quicker.
That's right, exactly. And it's getting further faster. Yeah, that's what it feels like, being able to do that, not having to necessarily jump on a plane, even though we're saying, you know,
Yeah.
hello universe, we still want to be able to do that. However, you know, right now we've made it work, and some, and in fact, you know, we should keep some of these things to have that connection and have those meaningful relationships, both from the professional standpoint and personal. Wonderful. Okay, so I'd love to hear about the wonderful things that you're working on now, or suspect you will be, you know, for the year ahead. Anything that you would like to share with the audience?
Well, there's always something ongoing. There's always something cooking there. Thankfully, I have to say, I mean, I've got with my team sort of like a rule that we, because of the contracting work which has to come in after we've been awarded there, I always say like, you know, try to get stuff done with your numbers by August, September time. Then you ramp up for the next year. You already bring the next RFPs, the next request for proposals in, and meanwhile you can work on the contracting piece to get those which you have been awarded. So we so like always have a bit of a head start. We get flying out of the gates in the beginning of the year. So did we this year. So we have a few big RFPs in the making. Hopefully some bid defense meetings ahead of us for those big ones. But the other thing as well, I have to say, there's not much face-to-face meetings these years on the agenda. We probably have to look at autumn, winter time, but there's a few nice shows coming up, especially in Asia Pac, where my passion is. So there's the outsourcing clinical trials in Seoul, which normally happens in December, China trials in Shanghai in November, Far East in Singapore. So I hope that those are still, yeah, face-to-face, or again, face-to-face, I should say. That would be great to see a few people again, connect with a few people. As good as Zoom is, you know, being out there, it's a slightly different other touch to it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So what you're saying is, even though we've been adaptable, you're still in your heart would love to have those face-to-face kind of sessions where you can build effective relationships and have that mutual connection and stare someone in the face and, see, and have more impact in that way. Yeah, it's true. But in the meantime, you're going to continue on as is, and of course, virtually connect. Now, is there any place where we can tell the audience to connect with you, any speaking engagements coming up, or forums or places where they can connect with you and hear about what you're talking about, or what you're sharing in terms of content?
Yeah, I literally just had a session with Pharmafocus. We talked about like how to set up trials and avoiding a few pitfalls there. We had a very pragmatic session together with the head of feasibility. It was on the 9th of February. It's still on demand out there, so I'm more than happy to share that link. And otherwise, I'm on LinkedIn. So if people don't think I'm a total lunatic, feel free to come out and connect with me. Give me a little hint that you came to me via that podcast. So
yes,
more than happy to connect there. I'm pretty active there. I watch this on a daily. It's a daily routine. It's a tool for me for building my professional network. And yeah, more than happy to connect to people as well from other branches. I mean, it's quite fascinating to see as well what other businesses are doing.
yes.
So I've got a sommelier in my network, and I got other people who work in the hotel business. So totally disconnected from what I do, but it's still fascinating.
Yeah, I think you're right. Being able to share the learnings and to make a contribution and to be inspired by, different sectors, different areas, and get different ideas. That's where the innovation comes into play. And you can see how you could integrate certain things into your business and the way you carry out things in terms of the strategy moving forward. So that's wonderful. So being able to follow you on LinkedIn, and of course, if you do get many, many connections, it's about, people defining what is it they want to connect with you with or for, and build those meaningful relationships moving forward. So I'm excited about listening to the On Demand. So yes, definitely share that, and anything in particular moving forward as well. It'll be wonderful to continue to hear your journey. What an inspiring journey you've had so far to date. I love hearing each and every one of your career destinations and the personal touch that goes with it, and your passion that comes through when it comes to, the European market and Asia Pac market. There's a personal reason for that as well. You've had defining moments in Singapore that have led to where you are now. And yes, it's wonderful that you've made it really work. And I know you've had a successful year last year, and I hope that you have every success moving forward. So delighted to have had you on the podcast on my birthday. So always be one to remember.
Well, thank you for that, Dan. I hope you right now have a wonderful evening. Celebrate your birthday. Thanks for having me today there. Have a glass of bubbly or something.
I will. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Christian. Really grateful for this. Cheers.
Good. Thanks for your time, Joe. Thank you very much, then. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.